Insulin is a hormone made by the pancreas, a small organ tucked behind your stomach. Its main job is to help your body manage sugar or glucose in your blood. Every time you eat, especially something with carbohydrates like bread or rice, your digestive system breaks it down into glucose. That glucose enters your bloodstream, and this is where insulin steps in. Insulin acts like a key. It helps open the doors of your body's cells so that glucose can go in and be used for energy. Without insulin, that sugar stays trapped in the bloodstream, building up to harmful levels. When the body doesn't make enough insulin, or when the insulin it does make doesn't work properly, serious health problems can follow. The most well-known of these is diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, the pancreas stops making insulin altogether, usually because the immune system mistakenly attacks the insulin-producing cells. In type 2 diabetes, the body still makes insulin, but the cells don't respond to it the way they should. This is called insulin resistance. Over time, the pancreas can wear out trying to keep up, and insulin production drops. Both types of diabetes can lead to dangerous complications if not treated. High blood sugar can damage blood vessels, nerves, eyes, kidneys, and even the heart. Before insulin treatment became available, a diagnosis of diabetes, especially type 1, was essentially a death sentence. That's why the discovery of insulin in the early 20th century was one of the most important medical breakthroughs in history. The discovery of insulin happened in the early 1920s, a time when science was just beginning to understand how the body truly worked. Before this, doctors knew that the pancreas was somehow linked to diabetes, especially after experiments on dogs in the late 1800s showed that removing the pancreas led to high blood sugar and death. But no one had figured out exactly what part of the pancreas was responsible, or how to isolate whatever substance was missing in people with diabetes. That changed in 1921 when a Canadian surgeon named Frederick Banting, along with medical student Charles Best, began a series of groundbreaking experiments in a small lab at the University of Toronto. They believed that the pancreas contained a substance that controlled blood sugar, something being destroyed or lost in diabetes. By carefully tying off certain parts of the pancreas in dogs, they tried to isolate the section that produced this mystery substance. With the help of biochemist James Collip and their supervisor John MacLeod, they were eventually able to extract a purified form of it. They called it insulin, a name that came from the Latin word insula, meaning island, because it was produced in the islets of Langerhans, clusters of cells inside the pancreas. When they injected insulin into diabetic dogs, the results were dramatic. The animals' dangerously high blood sugar levels dropped, and they lived longer. Soon after, they tried insulin on a human patient for the first time, a 14-year-old boy named Leonard Thompson who was dying of type 1 diabetes. After receiving insulin, his condition improved almost immediately. It was the first real proof that insulin wasn't just a theory. It was a life-saving hormone that the body absolutely needed. Before insulin, there was almost nothing doctors could do to help people with type 1 diabetes. The main treatment was what they called the starvation diet, a strict, extremely low-calorie regimen that sometimes gave patients a few extra months of life, but left them weak and malnourished. Families watched helplessly as their children wasted away. It was a disease with no hope, and death often came quickly. Even for those with type 2 diabetes, treatment was limited, and there was no way to stop the long-term damage caused by high blood sugar. But when insulin became available in the early 1920s, everything changed. For the first time, doctors had something that could directly replace what the body was missing. It wasn't a cure, but it was a powerful treatment. People who had been fading away were now gaining strength, putting on weight, and returning to normal life. Children who had been sent home to die were now playing again. The scenes were almost miraculous. Hospitals quickly began using insulin, and pharmaceutical companies raced to produce it in large quantities to meet demand. At first, insulin had to be extracted from the pancreases of pigs and cows, which was a complex and expensive process. Patients had to take daily injections, often with large glass syringes that needed to be boiled before each use. Blood sugar testing was still primitive, so managing the disease required constant attention. Even so, this was a massive leap forward from where medicine had been just a year earlier. Over time, both insulin and diabetes care improved. Insulin became purer and more effective, and devices for injecting it became easier to use. Scientists eventually created synthetic insulin in laboratories, removing the need for animal organs altogether. New types of insulin were developed that acted faster or lasted longer in the body, giving patients more control over their treatment. Tools to monitor blood sugar also evolved, allowing people with diabetes to track their levels in real time. Because of insulin, diabetes shifted from a fatal disease to a manageable condition. It still required discipline and regular care, but it no longer meant an early death. The discovery of insulin didn't just save lives, it transformed them. It gave millions of people a second chance, and it opened the door to a new era of medical science focused on understanding and managing chronic diseases.